Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Morgan Wolf. Right now, communities across the Twin Cities, they are picking up after severe weather overnight. Storms mostly clearing out after bringing heavy rain and whipping winds, knocking out power for thousands of people. Round 2 is on the way. We'll be checking in with the weather team in a little bit for a full check of your forecast. Our crews, though, they caught some of the worst damage in Minneapolis. This massive tree toppling onto a house in the Como neighborhood. The homeowner says that she and her cat were able to get out okay. So far, though, there have been no reports of any injuries from the severe weather overnight. Right now, charges are pending for the man accused of shooting at Hennepin County deputies, starting an 8-hour standoff in Minneapolis. The deputies say that they were trying to serve an arrest warrant for Tyler O'Brien, who is now sitting in the Hennepin County jail. Things got frantic just before noon when the Hennepin County Sheriff says that O'Brien shot at deputies trying to serve a felony firearms warrant. O'Brien also shot down a police drone. Officers were able to get a woman and a child out of that apartment safely. The whole building ended up being evacuated. Law enforcement says that they knew going in that this warrant and this suspect could require caution.
We did have some indicators that it would be high risk because of his past, yes. There was enough there to make sure that we use caution when executing this search warrant.
Just get out the way. Just get out the way. Don't want to be nowhere around it.
Once we were able to make sure that that apartment building was clear, things can slow down. Once we knew that just the suspect was inside of there, time is on our side. So we used time to our advantage, and thankfully, it did take several hours, but it came to a peaceful conclusion.
In the end, no one was hurt and O'Brien did surrender. Court records show that O'Brien does have a prior firearms and drug conviction. The people who live and work there, once again, though, finding themselves in the middle of the chaos. Just months ago, this area is exactly where Alex Preddy was shot and killed by federal agents. Restaurant owner Tracy Wan was there that day, and she was also there yesterday, too. Both times opening her doors to provide safety and shelter.
Tracy, what happened?
Well, this morning it was like we were working and we have customers come in here to eat, and then suddenly that people came in and told us that they were shooting.
They're getting serious, very serious now.
Then and after that, then the police came in and say that everybody must go home, everybody must got to go to be safe. This whole block is really quiet, very quiet. It's nobody, it's only the police car.
What's going on out there?
Out there, a lot of the officer and stuff like that. Still block, a lot of cop around the 28th Street.
Well, you've had to see a lot of hard things outside of that window, Tracy. It was 6 months ago when Alex Preddy was shot and killed, and you opened your doors for people to escape the tear gas and the rubber bullets. How are you feeling that now that you've gone through like 2 pretty extreme incidents like this?
I'm really afraid of that street and get slow again in the community. And everybody's scared to come, to come down here.
Tracy's pretty great. Well, today, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates is speaking to congressional investigators on Capitol Hill about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. The closed-door testimony is expected to be about the extent of Gates' relationship with the convicted sex offender. The Justice Department documents reveal Gates and Epstein worked together on philanthropic activities. Gates has denied any wrongdoing in his relationship with Epstein. New today, Minneapolis city leaders sharing more on the impact of Operation Metro Surge in the city.
And this report documents some of the real hardships, the lost income, the food insecurity, and increased mental health needs. But it also documents something else. It documents the strength of a community and how that community stood up for its neighbors. Minneapolis is resilient, we're compassionate, we're tough, and we have consistently showed grit. And we're going to need to show that grit again. And collectively, between the city, the county, the state, and yes, the federal government, we're going to need to show that compassion in real dollars.
City leaders saying the operation cost the city residents and businesses nearly $700 million. The city says that it has refunded $1.7 million in license fees for 1,200 businesses across the city and paid the fee for businesses that had not applied yet. Leaders also say that Minneapolis has provided $3.8 million in emergency rent assistance since Operation Metro Surge began. Inflation jumped higher at the end of May. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the inflation rate rose to 4.2% year over year, the highest level in 3 years. Economic experts blame the Iran war making oil and gas more expensive. The Bureau says that energy accounted for more than 60% of the total increase in prices over the month. While developing in the Middle East, new attacks overnight between the U.S. and Iran. President Trump ordering the, quote, self-defense strikes in retaliation for Iran downing an American helicopter. Iran responding against the U.S. forces in the Gulf, saying it hit 21 sites across the Middle East. NBC's Richard Engel is in Jerusalem with the very latest.
A U.S. official tells NBC News that Iran fired multiple missiles and drones toward U.S. military locations in the Middle East, targeting Jordan, Kuwait, and Bahrain. Most of the incoming fire being shot down. There were no reports of any casualties nor any major damage. And the Iranian strikes came just hours after the U.S. military targeted about 20 different locations inside Iran, including radar stations, missile defense systems, air defense systems. No reports of any casualties there. And significantly, the U.S. didn't target any Iranian cities or its leaders. So at least for now, it seems this latest flare-up and direct confrontation between the U.S. and Iran appears to have been contained. This all began after an American Army Apache helicopter was downed near the Strait of Hormuz, but the 2 crew members on board survived. They were recovered successfully by a sea drone. And President Trump has said that a red line for him to re-escalate the war in a major way, restart significant combat operations, would be if more American troops were killed. Richard Engel, NBC News, Jerusalem.
Vice President J.D. Vance is demanding that the Justice Department investigate Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. Vance, who is leading the White House's anti-fraud efforts, claims that Walz and Ellison were aware of the fraud in government programs. It did nothing to stop it. The criminal referral stems from a new congressional report accusing Minnesota of, quote, stunning failures that allowed massive fraud in our social programs. According to the report, warnings of fraud reached the top levels of state government, and people in leadership either avoided taking action or delayed it. The vice president posted on social media that he'd refer the allegations against the governor and AG to the DOJ's fraud division. Walz has denied allegations that his administration ignored financial abuse. A former U.S. assistant attorney says that the referral to the DOJ seems a bit premature.
It's fine to investigate the fraud. Everybody wants to do that. I think Walz wants to do it. But to name him as a particular individual, I think is premature because you don't have the evidence. It's irresponsible, and it violates every mores of federal criminal law. Maybe they didn't do their jobs perfectly. That's for everybody to talk about, and a fair election issue, but it doesn't make it criminal.
Today, a resolution honoring the lives of former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, as well as their dog Gilbert, that is set to be introduced to the St. Paul City Council. It comes nearly 1 year after they were killed in a shooting at their home. The resolution would make June 14th Mark, Melissa, and Gilbert Hortman Day in St. Paul and honor their contributions that they made to their community. Well, also in a matter of days, some disability service providers say that they will have to start laying off their employees. This is after the state terminated their funding last week in an effort to fight fraud. But these providers say they've done nothing wrong. Jennifer Hoff was in Duluth, where lawmakers described chaos across the state.
Okay, we're ready to go? Okay.
Lawmakers in Duluth making a call to St. Paul, demanding the governor take action and reinstate thousands of Medicaid providers the state terminated last week, including Scott Isaacson, head of Lyft's transportation.
In 27 years of business, we've never seen anything like what just happened.
The Department of Human Services disenrolling his company for an incomplete application, despite an otherwise clean record, forcing people to miss medical appointments like Vincent Sweetman's mother, who needs dialysis.
Our tentative plan is just that she goes to the hospital.
Straining ambulance services already stretched thin.
Fire the people that need to be fired and get people in there that can get this program up and running tomorrow, because these people don't have a tomorrow.
Since January, DHS has reviewed nearly 6,000 providers, a shortened process including site visits and documentation reviews, trying to combat fraud and protect $2 billion in Medicaid dollars the federal government says it's withholding.
They set the expectations, they set the deadlines, and then they step back and watch the chaos unfold. But what matters just as much as this is DHS finished the failure.
Representative Natalie Zanelzikar now asking Governor Walz to set up an incident command center, an 800 number, a model used during the pandemic to prioritize providers she says are caught up in that chaos.
Their reputation has always been what matters, to provide great care.
There's very little lawmakers can continue to do right now, at least legislatively, since they're not in session. But in a matter of weeks, Senator John Hoffman is expected to call a hearing because he does chair the Human Services Committee. And that will include testimony from providers to try to continue to find some solutions to what they call a crisis. In Duluth, Jennifer Hoff, KARE 11 News.
Well, just last week, Walz encouraged providers to take the steps necessary to demonstrate that they meet eligibility standards. They also have 60 days to file an appeal. Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up.